Hey there, team. How's it going? And greetings from Delhi in India. I'm not the Australian mafia. It's just there's a pollution problem, but actually, well, no, there is, but not inside. Unfortunately, this is the reality of a city like Delhi at the moment, especially this time of year with the pollution count being so high. But hey, look, thanks so much for letting me speak on imagining the future, rise of the millennials. Um, First of all, I'd like to say that I don't think I'm a millennial, so I'm speaking from an old bastard perspective, or at least I'm from a 37-year-old who I'm Generation X, but I spend most of my life working with millennials, so I kind of feel like I can speak on this subject. But first of all, my name's Darcy. I am a global citizen. That's kind of how I describe my job because most people say, what's your job, where do you live, and how do you get paid? And I don't really have any answers to that. I do different things in different places at different times with different people and basically just avoid the question. But at the moment, the reason I'm sitting here in Delhi isn't by accident. Where it all kind of started for me was back in Australia, as you can tell where I'm from, my beautiful accent. But I was definitely a one cultured kid. You know, I grew up with Australian parents, Australian grandparents, which is even more bizarre. But I first kind of came to know about another culture firsthand or in a person through my brother. He started going out with a Japanese woman. And I got to meet her and ask her questions and interact with someone who wasn't from Australia and get to know quite well. And that's really intrigued me. I mean, I'd always been intrigued about different places and different people, but that really solidified for me that I wanted to learn more about the world and know that people do similar things, but then sometimes very different things as well. And so from there, I had the opportunity when I finished high school to go and work in a bakery in Japan. I didn't really speak Japanese and I didn't know how to make bread, but the opportunity was there through who then became my sister-in-law. And the opportunity was there, so I went off and decided to give that a crack for a year. And that was a big turning point for me because I did learn to speak Japanese, I did learn to make bread, and then the world just kind of opened itself up. Because I thought, well, I wanted to be a primary school teacher, and to be a primary school teacher, you're meant to do this, then this, then this, then this, and then you become a primary school teacher. Working in a Japanese bakery isn't quite on the linear path straight to being a primary school teacher. I kind of took a big shift to the right. But it was wonderful. So it meant that, you know, everything's off the cards. Instead of going for what I wanted to be, I then decided to follow what I wanted to do. And that's a big difference because you then start to listen to your heart more than your head because your head will tell you what you should do and your heart will tell you what you want to do. And so I started to do that. And then the next thing after Japan, well, actually, next thing was I went to university back in Australia and became a teacher because I thought that's what I was meant to do. But like I didn't listen to my head too much back then, and I took off again and I went to Kyrgyzstan, a really hard country to spell, but it's a beautiful little country in Central Asia with big mountains. I went there to climb mountains. And while I was there, I did some volunteering at a university, and the teachers around me, who were the same age as me, I was 22 years old, and their salary was $40 for 1 month. And, you know, I knew that my salary in Australia, if I was a teacher at that time, would have been about $40 for 1 hour. And that's when the injustice of the world first hit me. Because, you know, I was just as smart. Oh, sorry, they were just as smart. I wasn't just as smart as them at all. They were just as smart as me. They worked just as hard. They worked just as long hours. And the only difference was that I was born where I was born and my friends were born where they were born. And that was the big difference in the world. The difference meant access and opportunity. Access to clean water, nutritional food, health, education, all these sorts of things. And I knew that it was just that lottery of life that I'd been born into a place where I was able to travel to a country like Kyrgyzstan to do volunteering and not someone from Kyrgyzstan coming to Australia to volunteer. And so when I realised that the world, should be this place of equality, and it wasn't, then I really, really loved getting to know about my new job, which was to be an active and effective global citizen. And that's what I've been doing for many, many years now, for 15 years in more than 80 countries around the world, as a continual process of learning from other people, sharing, and basically trying to move myself along that spectrum of becoming a more active and effective global citizen every single day. I usually don't like saying this to millennials, but I love waking up in the morning because my day has an amazing sense of purpose. It's dedicated to learn more and to do more, to help end extreme poverty, to reduce inequality, and to protect the planet, as our new global goals for sustainable development are teaching us those three things that we're aiming to achieve. So that's the other thing. I mean, Mondays, like, I don't know when Monday is most of the time, and I don't hate Mondays because there's nothing wrong with Mondays. Often it's just your job, which is why people hate Mondays. Now, the way that I came to be in this position to love Mondays and to even know really sometimes when Monday is, was that it wasn't easy. I mean, I didn't follow the path that you're meant to follow. And people often tell you that, hey, look, you're on the wrong path. When are you going to settle down? When are you going to get a real job and earn a salary? And for me, it was tough. Like, I had to ignore society. I had to ignore my family. And even in a place like Australia, where the expectations are much lower than, say, an Indian family or often Asian families, where expectations are much higher, that you don't deviate off the straight path. So I definitely had to have a thick skin, and I had to believe in my heart. And I had to believe that I was doing the things that I wanted to do, not do the things that I wanted to be. And it did take practice. So that's definitely a tip for any millennials around the place. But the point that I'm in now is just incredible. So I really want to bang on about the millennials in a positive sense. I think meant to use bang on in the negative sense. Anyway, so I am always inspired by millennials. I give a lot of presentations through a thing called Teaspoons of Change, which are personal choices, decisions, and actions that have a positive impact on people and the planet. And through my Teaspoons of Change presentations, I'm often listening and learning and being inspired, being empowered, and being engaged by millennials, especially 10 to 18-year-olds when I'm mainly working in upper primary and secondary schools. And it's wonderful. I think millennials have a beautiful outlook on life. When I was under 20, I didn't know anything about the world. I didn't care about the world. I just wanted to play cricket and Aussie rules football, and I still do. But I now care. And I think anyone who's growing up around the world, even in places like India and Ethiopia and other places where I lived and work, is that people have a great sense of social justice. They're asking themselves, what is a global citizen and how can I be a good one? And so I believe that the millennials of today and most of the world, more than 50% of the world is under the age of 40, is my age and younger. So I think we're in an incredible position to really shift the way society is doing things today. I think that millennials are far more about chasing experiences and paying money for services rather than stuff. Okay, the best things in life aren't things. We kind of know that, but my generation and older generations, that's what it was all about. And still in developing countries, that is very much the reality as well. But I think with the millennials proving or leading the way for us to follow, which isn't easy because millennials often don't get recognised that much in society, and particularly in our media, but they're offering an incredibly different and diverse approach to life. More people are beginning to try and follow their heart. They are willing to take risks and do different things and not be cemented in one thing, one job or one train of life, one track of life. Sorry. So I think it's a wonderful learning lesson for olders. And I think millennials need to know that the things they do today are just as important, just as significant, and just as powerful as any time in the future. And I think they need to believe that in themselves. I think a lot of them do. But unfortunately, society of my age and older don't always believe that either. They don't give you the credit that you deserve. So just know in yourselves that you are a significant influence on the rest of society. And I'm really enthused. Like I do stuff with Teaspoons of Change. I'm here writing global citizen curricula with an organisation called TGOF, the Global Education Leadership Foundation. And there's lots of good people with good ideas doing good things in the world. And that's the beauty. Surround yourself in those good people doing good things. Learn from them. Share with them. Add your influences. a great project that I've built two tiny houses, one in Australia and one in New Zealand. They're called Happy Simply. Okay, it's a sustainable lifestyle model and education project. And the wonderful thing is that millennials were there to get involved. They were willing to not work for a couple of weeks, to have the experience of building a tiny house, a fully self-sufficient place, off all the grids, and get their hands involved and use their skills of technology and making videos and getting it out on social media. So there are so many wonderful examples out there of good people doing good things. Surround yourself in that ecosystem. Contribute to what other people are doing, because you've got the different perspectives, different ideas, great grasp of technology and its uses and its potentials, even better than its uses. So just have a lot of faith in yourself to be able to do that. One of my favourite lyrics is from Michael Franti. He's a musician. He's not a millennial. He's a bit older like me. But anyway, in one of his lyrics he says, "Are you a part of the pollution or are you a part of the solution?" And I believe that more millennials are absolutely a part of the solution, at least stuff it up, part of the solution today than they are the pollution. And I think we can envisage a better world for everyone, everywhere, and forever. The global goals are a great little platform for us to use. Other organisations that I love working with are the Global Poverty Project and the Global Citizen, to learn more about being a highly effective and active global citizen. Jump Foundation, who run experiential learning programs and experiences. AYCC from Australia, the Australian Youth Climate Coalition. 350.org, these environmental justice organisations, AVARS, all these fantastic people doing fantastic things. We know that there's enough out there for us to do, and I believe the volume of people working together to solve the big challenges of the world is absolutely happening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to have a little chat with you here from the room in Delhi. It's much quieter in here than it is out in the streets of Delhi. A bit more boring, unfortunately, but anyway. Do keep in touch. Check me out on Teaspoons of Change through Facebook, and there's a bit of a blog and stuff like that. Have a look at Happy Simply. Go and check out Global Citizen, Jump Foundation, all these cool people, and do keep in touch. So thanks very much for the opportunity, and hopefully speaking to you again later in one of these series, maybe from another country, sometime, somewhere in the future. Cheers.